As a coach, it often feels like there is pressure to have more conversations with people out there, potential clients. And in my experience, that's usually when we don't have any clients. And we get this insatiable desire to put out feelers, to attract people, to speak to these specific souls, individuals, who we convince ourselves will solve all of our problems when we do speak to them. But then so often I find that you speak to them and then actually you haven't quite got the product offer lined up. Perhaps the pricing is something you still feel a bit uncertain about. And somehow it just slips through your fingers. And you find yourself kicking at yourself thinking, well, wasn't that someone that wanted to work with you? That wanted to do things with you? And you sort of convinced yourself in the conversation that maybe they weren't, or maybe you weren't right for them, or maybe it was too expensive, or maybe they couldn't afford it, whatever it was. I have been there many, many times before. And the reason this feels so alive to me is because I spent 2 years working for a voice coaching agency where I had to sell their program, which was mostly myself teaching. And I had no problem at all selling people that product. So what that might tell you is a bit of resistance here about making money because, and possibly this is the same for you, because there's some sort of story I've clearly told myself over the years that making money has with it some sort of pushback. So this summer, some of you that have been watching the Kieran video show evolve over the year will remember that Ellie and I started doing these Get Shit Done conversations in June. And this was around the same time that Simon and Francis were creating Conversations. I think it was even before it had its name. And they put it out there and I wanted to do it. In fact, I wanted to do it not just for me, but for them, because I believe so strongly in what they have created over the last 15 months or so. And I feel so inspired by the work ethic showed by both of them that I wanted to do it for me, but also to support everything that they have done. So I was speaking to Ellie about this, and my feeling was that I was willing to take a risk on myself of the £400 deposit, which I gladly paid, I think, back in the summer. And my idea was that I would just make up a program. You know, it's just a program, and it would pay for everything. And somehow this idea, through this sort of gestation process in community of people generously giving their time to speak about UX stuff, about the experience when I spoke about it at New Ideas Soiree, when I sort of pitched it, people seemed really up for it. And it just seemed, like it would fit well. Plus, I'd already paid the £400, so I really wanted to make the money up to pay for the rest of Creating Conversations. So I found myself in this very interesting situation where I had committed myself to the programme, didn't have the other £2,000 to do it, told myself that if I didn't get the £2,000 by November that I wouldn't do it and I'd just lose the money. And so I was completely incentivizing myself to create something which would allow me to pay for this. And somehow that started allowing me to tell a different money story. Suddenly, instead of the money being for me and sort of against my internal feeling of wanting to do good for others, some weird bit of resistance that's been there for a long, long time that I feel is, I'm edging in on it. I can see it. I've got it in my sights now, this piece of resistance. So this determination, this fire in my belly, as Francis put it, was just born out of this, some might say rash decision to just go for it and say, yeah, fuck it. I'll put down the £400 because that will incentivize me to make the rest of the money. The key thing for me is that took it away from being about taking from other people. And I realise that's a strong part of the narrative for me when it comes to being paid for things. I've got this weird belief somewhere, not consciously, but somewhere inside, that it's about taking something from someone when I want to give to people and I want to facilitate people's growth. So that feels weird, the dynamic of give and take. But, of course, thematically that comes up a lot throughout life, that things don't work without give and take. So this has been a really interesting experiment for me, kind of playing with that bit of resistance, nudging it, seeing how it responds to me doing something financially rash, but being convinced enough in my own ability to deliver and with enough belief in what I teach that people would be interested. And lo and behold, the program was born. I think it's called Loving the Lens now. It's still not a final title, but that's Alex's name for it in his calendar, and I rather love that. So Loving the Lens, for now at least it is. And we're 5 weeks in, somehow. And I am absolutely adoring the process. I cannot tell you how much it means to me to be working with these 4 wonderful individuals who have committed to this course, who have gone along with me and said, yeah, I can see you're just creating this in the moment, that you are drawing on this, but I want to support you in doing this, and I see the value for me in doing this. And it has been so enriching to do this work with these people. And I cannot tell you how moved I was. I was practically weeping last Friday, as Fiona will attest to, because of the leaps and bounds I'm witnessing. It's so exciting to do this work. This is why I love coaching, and to find a way to lessen the resistance, just sort of nurture the resistance perhaps. For me, my financial resistance has gone such a long way to it's allowing me to see that there might be a different way to do this work, to be nourished by this work that I'm doing with these wonderful people, and to see the impact it has for them, and to be paid for it. That feels like a new sensation. And that is a new sensation I'm very excited about, because, I mean, like everyone else, I do actually need money to pay for shit. It's pretty expensive living in London, and I like pretty fancy things, and they do not come cheap. And I'm not turning those down. I'm not going to throw that stuff out. So I do need this to work, but it's exciting to turn that from something of oh my God, I need to make some money, I desperately need a conversation with someone to convert them into a client, into I've got something that I think is really profound and exciting and nourishing, and other people also feel that way, and that's worth something. And they get something enormous from it, for that investment of money, for that investment of time. And allowing that, because that is what it is for me, it is about allowing that process, is deeply exciting. Because it feels like I can approach the money in a kind of playful way. Yeah. So that's my story of how I came to Creating Conversations. I have no idea if this encourages you to do something similar or something completely opposite. But I'm sharing it here through the invitation from Francis, and I hope you enjoyed hearing about it.